half of China's population lives in the big coastal cities of the east, like Beijing and Shanghai. But away from the heavily populated east, heading west to the outer provinces of Tibet, Xinjiang and Yunnan, the more diverse and mysterious this country becomes. Here, the harsh, unforgiving landscapes forge strong, resourceful people with unique lifestyles and heritage. Even in these remote regions, the winds of change are blowing hard. The future's arriving fast as China's secret lands are revealed. "70 million years ago, this ancient plateau lay beneath the ocean. The same titanic collision of continental plates that created Mount Everest lifted this seabed 4,000 meters into the sky. Tibet is the rooftop of the world, a region higher than any other on the planet. Freezing winters, strong ultraviolet rays, less than 2/3 of the oxygen at sea level. A place inhospitable to most life. Yet for at least 5 millennia, humans lived here in extreme isolation, surviving on very little. Research has shown that in their seclusion, they've evolved genetic traits not found in other humans to cope with this severe environment. Now these hardy people are adapting to another great change: modernity. Only 3 million people live in the Tibet Autonomous Region, an area almost the size of Western Europe, just over 1 person per square kilometre. In this vast emptiness, all roads lead to one city, Lhasa, the Mecca of Tibetan Buddhism. Lhasa literally translates to the place of the gods. It's also a place for 280,000 residents. Before the 7th century, the Tibetan plateau was occupied by a disarray of small rival kingdoms. The great Sungtsen Gampo united the surrounding clans and became the first emperor of the vast Tibetan Empire. It was a formative time for Tibet. Although the empire only lasted 220 years, Sungtsen Gampo's legacy still dominates the old town of Lhasa today. He constructed the first buildings on the site of the Grand Potala Palace. And he's credited with bringing a major religion to Tibet: Buddhism. Here is the holiest place of all, the Jorkang Temple, built by Sungtsen Gampo 1,300 years ago. Every morning, thousands of pilgrims perform a kora, a meditative clockwise circling of a sacred site. Some have walked for months on a holy pilgrimage, culminating in this haze of incense smoke and spinning prayer wheels. Thousands of kilometers on foot, prostrating and reciting scripture every few steps. On the bustling markets of Bakor Street, surrounding the temple, a Tibetan entrepreneur watches the pilgrims closely, scanning the distinctive styles of clothing gathered here from all corners of Tibet. 33-year-old Konchok Tashi has a dream: to take traditional Tibetan fashion into a new international era.
今天咱们事情特别多啊。
Even among Tibetans, Tashi stands out. It's not just the workout gear that he wears for every occasion.
你好，欢迎光临。
嗨，帮你准备了2件衣服，来这边。
It's also his unmistakable
来过。我们品牌的名字叫根雀宜扎西，我就把这个我的笑声跟我的名字放在一起，根雀宜扎西。比之前我看起来想的要好。
After working as a police officer, a website editor, and an art curator, he entered the world of fashion without any training.
后面随着事情的进展，然后到20多件的时候，就有人开始买了。对，怎么样的那个？马上上来，马上上来。
It's a big day for Tashi.
胡姐，这个是我们那个大衣对吗？
烫好了，这边拼起来就差不多了吧。
哦。
Tonight, he'll reveal the new season's designs on the catwalk.
对，把这个烫起来，待会儿就拿过去了啊。魏师傅，这个是昨天做出来的吗？胡姐做的。
In 7 years, Konchok Yitashi has grown from 1 staff to 13.
到这里面去了以后，第一我们没有位置了。
Tashi's partner, Wu Qian, plays a key role.
我的想法是这样。
两边啊，
对，
两边。
所以现在我的问题是。
She balances Tashi's creativity with her own practicality.
啊，这个就你们男的了啊。
They rush between their converted apartments on Barkor Street, putting together last-minute adjustments.
看一下胡姐这个啊。
But with 10 hours to go, Tashi has doubts about the lineup.
今天面临的3大问题之一，最重要的这个问题就是，我们用什么样的一件衣服来收？我们其他的衣服都特别好看，然后我想就是最后那件衣服的话更好看，然后怎么样能让其他的人觉得哇？然后咱们那个现在是多少？10点半，11点。
The show starts at 8 o'clock. Before then, he'll need to sketch, sew, and accessorize his masterpiece from scratch. Boutique shops selling traditional Chuba robes are common on Barkor Street. But Tashi is virtually the only Tibetan attempting to bring global styles into his locally inspired designs.
我心里面的那个拉萨是非常开放的，它实际上是海纳百川的。所以那个时候我有一个想法，我说，哇哦，我一定要做一个事情 ，From Tibet, Beyond Tibet。这个完了以后的话，看一下张姐他们那边，这件是我们压轴的那个大衣。 Good, huh?
Tashi has handed in his design, a slick Western-style professional suit, which will be paired with intricate Tibetan accessories. It's now up to the sewing team to furiously assemble the headline garment. Only 5 hours remain. Tashi must head to the venue without the dress.
店这边就拜托你了。
He's already committed the sin of keeping Wu Qian waiting.
好了吗？吴倩，我们准备的。对了。It's OK 6点15分了，然后模特已经开始在化妆了。音乐过了昨天还没有再重新排一下。 现在还在等这个裁缝师，据说是现在交通特别紧张，裁缝师还没到。Good， 到时候就往中间站。Good。我们的裁缝师傅到了，走吧。
With only 2 hours to spare, the key dress arrives.
太好了啊，咱们试一下吧，这边。哎，吴倩，刚好你来了，来，帮我把这个 我和吴倩是在14年认识的。那个我非常困难的时候，没钱吃饭，都去朋友家蹭饭。然后刚好吴倩我们认识，我们一起来把衣服事情慢慢做。从那开始，我们就一直往前面走。看起来是一个偶然，但从我的角度，我一直相信这样一句话，就是所有看似的偶然，其实都是因果的必然。咱们就用这个来收。
我觉得它非常正，给人一种非常正的感觉。他对我也非常苛刻，但是之间过了比较久的时候，然后反过来一想，真的他说的东西都是对的。我觉得他真的是在用心的做。
它是我的人生的一部分，甚至是我性格的一部分。如果可以的话，我也许也是他性格和人生的一部分。
好，待会儿见。好的，好，待会儿见。
As the models, musicians, and technicians do their final checks, the scale of Tashi's ambition becomes visible.
我想做的是搭建一个大的一个感觉，而且这个感觉并不是由我一个人来搭建的，甚至包括来的所有的人，我们所有的嘉宾，我所有的好朋友们，我们一起来打造一个感觉。是什么感觉？海纳百川的，充满创造精神的拉萨。
蓝琉璃的时尚。
我从刚开始的10几件衣服，慢慢的做过来，最主要的原因是因为得到了很多人的认可。祝你生日！哇！你猜的话，我觉得哪一段最好？你猜的话？
我猜，我说话的时候。
对呀。这边一下子说，哇，好紧张。希望通过这样一个系列，我能够做到，就是把西藏传统的服饰，然后更多的融入到我自己的设计，做到就像我一直强调的这个 From Tibet, Beyond Tibet， 说的好不好？
特别好。
Since the reform and opening policy instituted by Deng Xiaoping in 1978, China has been investing heavily into frontier regions like Tibet. In the past 2 decades, Tibet's growth has outpaced the national average almost every year. This modern metamorphosis can easily be seen in Lhasa. But the benefits spread further afield. 90 kilometers to the northwest, on a plateau nearly as high as the Matterhorn's peak, is the town of Yangbajing. For centuries, Tibetan nomads have roamed these valleys, grazing their yaks on the fertile grass. But the ephemeral lifestyle of a wanderer is becoming a thing of the past. Beginning in 2006, the Chinese government subsidized permanent housing to provide a more stable life for nomads. Though their children now attend school, work is still the same for the older generation.
No, dunje jas. Dunje no ngasir lut, ngasir lut. Simji tas ngazi lut. Tige. Chizu ngava shekis long here yerben. Coffee gora no ma here TV ge coffee. Ni la pi lut let yo ma here. To pi ku lut. Ngandro ngasir yo la ma here. Tla no lut, tla nyama duksira. Ngala bya mara no la. No zangete kanda zachebando kanda hiari mori bakori kanda kaletola yugo mendo kanda tishebajikdo robesomji.
There's something unusual about where these nomads have chosen to settle. Nearby, the Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates collide and fuel the fires of the Yangbajing hot springs. Here, the largest geothermal power station in China dominates the vista. Magma-heated water from 1,000 meters underground is piped into the plant, generating enough cheap and clean energy to power 50,000 Tibetan households. It's a reliable year-round supply for Lhasa and the surrounding villages. The local herders still burn yak dung for heat in winter. But electricity and modern appliances have replaced their cooking fires.
Di oman sangat sana ci yak behibade tene ngari program nyamana me oman logata. Na do ma hyona ma te hyoni domutro na moti ge shasa nyona me shata. Yemen domanere ni na ma long me hyotrori. Kala yaze tene la pe hyata tro. Yemen domana kali kakwatene nyawa ninga tro. Techin domana lamzan tro. Ma zang ka tu yagore.
Some things never change, like the daily cup of yak butter tea, a salty beverage full of pungent fats. It provides vital calories and nutrients and is believed to combat altitude sickness. Cold, thin air may test the limits of human endurance, but these are ideal conditions for solar panels. The Yangbajing Solar Park was completed in 2012. The intensity of solar radiation in Tibet is second only to the Sahara Desert. But because a low temperature enhances the performance of photovoltaic cells, this may well be the best place on Earth to generate solar power. But there's something else looking to the heavens at Yangbajing. Something that's helping to solve the mysteries of the universe.
在那边，你今天早上有没有那个高原反应？哎，
还行，
还行啊。
对，主要昨晚上睡得比较好。
Professor Huang Jing from the Institute of High Energy Physics at the Chinese Academy of Sciences and her research associate are visiting one of the most cutting-edge research facilities in the world. One that proves science is not glamorous.
你现在看着这个实验，感觉很简陋，其实它这是一个国际著名的宇宙线实验。它的面积是5万平方米，而在4000米海拔以上，现在国际上正在运行的面积达到这么大，国际上现在仅此一家。
Professor Huang represents an international team of 76 researchers from Japan and China on the Tibet AS Gamma experiment. Their mission? To uncover the puzzling origin of high-energy cosmic rays, charged particles from space that bombard the Earth's atmosphere. These extraterrestrial particles travel close to the speed of light, some with an energy millions of times greater than anything we've achieved on Earth. What in space could have caused such unimaginable acceleration?
宙射线已经发现100年了，而这个高能的宇宙射线的起源是现在一个世纪之谜。比如说是超新星残骸，还是脉冲星啊、暗物质。
The types of cosmic ray they're investigating are some of the most powerful and rare. Only a few particles hitting per square meter per year. The Tibet AS Gamma experiment is situated at the precise altitude where these rays are easiest to detect. And there's no shortage of the flat, open spaces needed to cast a wider net.
大量的宇宙射线，进入闪烁体以后，它会发出闪烁的光。这下面有一个光电倍增管，经过光电倍增管，它会转换成电信号，从电缆线传到我们的那个数据采集系统里面。
Building and maintaining a facility in the severe environment of Yangbajing is not a job for the faint of heart. Professor Huang may be an outsider to the plateau, but she's armed with a very Tibetan sense of devotion.
这些宇宙射线的这些探测器，市面上是没地方买的。每个探测器里面的这些东西都是我们亲手设计、亲手组装。这个铅板就有300公斤，都是我们自己搬过来的。所有的这些电缆线，你大约有800多根的。因为碰上沙尘暴，我们每个人都是跪在地底下，跪在这里，一根一根、1米1米的拉过来，所以非常的艰难。
Even more remarkable than her endurance at the top of the world is Professor Huang's climb to the top of China's academic circles. Women hold less than 10% of all professorships in China.
我当时的时候，我记得整个实验组就我是唯一的一个女性，当时对自己的压力也很大，非常大。最努力的时候，我记得是4天3夜吧，我就没有闭过眼睛的。我估计是这个base，就是 base 上面有可能有虚汗。我自己是很喜欢这个研究的，我就不会轻而易举的放弃。越是很困难的东西，我就越努力的去，一定要把它拿到，一定要把它做出来。我第一次来羊八井的时候，感觉西藏是一个很神秘的地方。我们就是满怀着这种好奇心跟神秘，以最快的速度出最好的物理成果，真正的走到世界的最前沿。
In Lhasa, another of Tibet's hidden secrets will soon be revealed. The first light of dawn stirs the sleeping pilgrims at Drepung Monastery, once the largest monastery in Tibet. They've endured a cold and rainy night to be at the front row of a grand opening.
今天是一个非常特别的节日，决定节。
Monks have been cloistered inside Drepung Monastery for the past month. Their reason? To avoid stepping on insects as they emerge from the ground during summer. They're practicing, as much as possible, the first Buddhist precept, to abstain from killing. Now, it's about time to end their seclusion.
今天我们在等晒佛，然后我们在这大殿的这门口，就等他们出来。
It's a golden opportunity for young Pakmutashi, a postgraduate student at Tibet University, specializing in a centuries-old Tibetan art known as thangka. The emerging monks are about to share with the public one of the largest thangka paintings in existence.
我现在心情特别兴奋，对。
Thangka is a highly formalized style of painting on cotton or silk scrolls, with Buddhist deities as a main feature. From as early as the 11th century, they were rolled up and carried by spiritual teachers to spread the word of Buddha across the plateau. A well-made thangka is believed to embody the deity and transmit a living presence to those who view it. At the age of 22, Tashi must study intensively if he's to channel these spiritual powers.
音乐方面什么都，舞蹈方面我都有所接触，但是唐卡这门艺术来讲，绘画过程是特别艰苦。我现在所画的是一幅完整的释迦牟尼佛像。
Strict rules have been set in stone centuries ago by Buddhist masters. They govern proportions, stance, shape, even hand positions.
一分一毫都不能有错。画了30-40多年的大师还在练习这个。
In thangka, adherence to tradition is the greatest virtue.
应该快要出来了。要开始了，要开始了。
The thick roll of cloth weighs about half a ton and must be shouldered up the mountain to the display platform. The monks will need all the help they can get.
首先，他出来之后，我们都会去朝拜，摸一下。很多人都是民间这种群众都背过去。现在就是一个斩缚的一个过程，每幅唐卡都一样，先把身边的袈裟还有景色全部画完，才点眼睛，然后这幅盖一层布，到了时刻该展出的时候，他就会把那个布拉上去。对，开始展了，开始展了。
The monumental thangka is 40 meters long, as large as 3 basketball courts combined. It's only been displayed once before, when it was made in 2016. 30 artists toiled for 2 years to complete it. Thousands swarm the thangka display, anxious to get close before the monks roll it back into the monastery at noon. Silk hada scarves are a symbol of purity and respect. They convey the prayers of the people who have camped out all night to be here.
中间那幅画就是弥勒佛，正下方的那几幅画属于那种护法神，上面那些都是一些喇嘛、文禅呀、达赖呀这些。我很难想象他们是就那个技术呀这方面就是特别难。看到这幅画之后的感想，我只是一个特别小，一点功夫都没有，对。 在他面前什么都不是。
This grand thangka presentation marks the beginning of the Shodan festival, also known as the Yogurt Festival. In a tradition from the 11th century, lay people celebrate the reappearance of the monks by holding a banquet featuring yogurt. Norbalinka, the Dalai Lama's summer palace, is at the center of festivities. Its vast gardens open to a mass of holidaying families. While other operas around the world have a niche audience, L'Amour, or Tibetan opera, is still very popular among common folk today. A blend of song, dance, acrobatics, and narrative chanting, heavily rooted in Buddhist teachings. Losung Tashi has been performing and teaching Tibetan opera for 25 years. Much like thangka, this is an art obtained only through uncompromising discipline. Over the next 3 days, he will sing and chant almost continuously for 10 hours a day. While the city of Lhasa relaxes under the summer sun, a thangka artist in training is about to face his most daunting task yet. The university has arranged for Pakmu Tashi to meet his teacher's teacher. 76-year-old Dampa Rubtin is the oldest and most respected thangka master in Tibet today. A living cultural treasure.
见丹巴老师的话，肯定紧张，特别紧张。这门课我特别紧张，那这幅画他会不会沮丧？就后代这几辈就画的不好，我就特别担心的就是这个。
跟了，那这个我综合这些没兴趣嘛是呀，还有从我检查呀，有没有碰着是人呢？
第一次见到的时候，感觉他就是一个活佛站在我面前，就是一个喇嘛。
Master Dampa's grandfather was the official portraitist of the previous Dalai Lama in the early 1900s.
그 他在我修改的过程中，他也给我画了几幅，真的，年纪那么高了，然后画的时候他手一点也不抖。我们绘画讲究主要是手和笔尖，手就是他的生命。丹巴老师到现在了，他还是保持着他的这种生命。
But for Master Dampa, true thangka is a dying tradition. On Barkor Street, mass-produced thangkas emblazon the shop walls, catching the eye of tourists. A far cry from the art he spent his whole life preserving.
哎呀，边角上聊起来好了吧？逻辑听了逻辑哪里灵了吧？我别人猜想我听这里，你听了搞来想说
的。是。
啊。
The precious hour with Master Dampa leaves a lasting impression on Pakmutashi, the newest link in the chain of tradition. The unique personality of Lhasa lies in this interface between the old and the young. But beyond the capital is an even greater contrast. A descent in altitude of just 600 meters reveals a world of difference. Many of Asia's great rivers snake through this mysterious land in southeastern Tibet, home to China's largest virgin forest. Nyingchi, a prefectural city, straddles the craggy terrain 400 kilometers east of Lhasa. It's been called the Switzerland of China. Nyingchi's primitive forests are still a lifeline for the villages of remote Chogao. Losang Chopao is on the hunt for something as valuable as it is elusive. It only appears for 2 months in summer.
Hi, ta kunzo lesunga chala de dwa yorta ta. Yabuchen chela ta de chega shibe yorta. Oh, chala de dwa yorta kunzo lesunga. Oh. Oh yeah,
The Matsutake mushroom. Long used in folk medicine for its magical health properties. Recent studies by Chinese pharmacologists have uncovered scientific proof of its antibacterial and cancer-fighting effects. Artificial cultivation of Matsutake mushrooms is yet to be successful. Its sensitivity to environmental conditions and short fruiting season gives it a mythical rarity. The highest grades can retail for $2,000 per kilo on the international market.
Yeah, that's Shamu Chama Sunsrachta. Treshamu Chavarachta. Yeah, Nanala Nogo. Lo Shigelas Logiorta. De Meto Nalas and Natinor. Oh, Pagan Rashimaka, Ajakoga, doing the Chesoy Avandela. There was the day Ajara, Aja Paget and the time was on the somebody and the sugar.
The Matsutake mushroom has been collected and casually eaten by these families for generations. But it's the past few decades of improved global access that has infused its lucrative value. A new high-speed motorway will soon connect Nyingchi and Lhasa and accelerate the influx of wealth. But there's one major roadblock in the way. Mila Mountain. Here, the world's hardiest road builders are working 24 hours a day to surmount the insurmountable.
这是米拉山隧道出口左洞，现在已经进去了1800米左右，1786米。
Zhang Xin has been called in from Chongqing for his expertise in building tunnels. Never in his 15-year career has he encountered one as difficult as this. 4,700 meters above sea level, 5.8 kilometers long, the Mila Mountain Tunnel will be the world's highest road tunnel. But they're well overdue. 2 years into construction, the team have only dug 70% of the way. The oxygen level here is so low, 2 breaths only count for 1. Chen Zerong from Zhejiang province is responsible for the health and safety of his fellow workers. A huge weight to bear in such extreme conditions.
这个米拉山隧道，我一开工我就来了，就2年多了嘛。工人在这里干活是很辛苦的，就干个3、4个小时就得休息。刚才这一条。
Low oxygen is just one of many handicaps. Winters at Mila Mountain last for 9 months, with temperatures plummeting to -30 degrees Celsius. After digging the first 400 meters, the team encountered a crippling problem. Groundwater. At its worst, 39,000 cubic meters of water per day flooded into the tunnel. Enough to fill 15 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Pumps must run continuously to clear a path for the crew. But the excess water also weakens the soft rock, causing the tunnel to sink dangerously.
围崖断层太多，夹层。
到现在还是不好。
还有577米。
我就保持1个月能70米到80米之间，
对，就有。
我就还有希望。
嗯。我现在慢，我总比停工好。
对，
是不是啊？
Despite the monumental challenges, the construction team still holds a clean safety record. And work must go on.
我们现在做的是就是开挖帮打野放炮。放炮啊，都得推出200、300米，这是保证安全。
恐怖吗？从发自内心的感到很自豪的，也就是我们在施工协警的时候，工人是穿着雨衣，浑身裹着就露2个眼，当时只有零上2度。工人在干活的时候，在水中干活，像在暴雨中干活一样。他在手一会就冻麻了，冻麻了，旁边烧了一桶热水，然后用手插进去，热水把你手捂热，然后再上去干。这是这种。我从心理上就是能把我们这个协警贯通，我感觉很感动，很感谢他们。
The high worker turnover rate on this site is a challenge for Zhang Xin. Some only last 2 days before quitting. But he and his core team have persevered from the beginning.
我老婆第一个是坚决不同意来，老婆哭着不能去那个地方去，她认为就是这地方很恐怖、很可怕，来的时候你可能就是晚上睡觉你就会，第二天也许你就不在了。因为我们是个团队，我们这个团队在一起已经1、20年了，难道人家都来就我不来？
谢谢老师傅，这个米拉山隧道干完，好好回去休养一段时间，调养一段身体。就是我妈做给我饭，特别是红烧肉、米饭、红烧肉，最喜欢的，这是我的最爱。
Once the tunnel is complete, the drive from Lhasa to Nyingchi will be shortened from 8 hours to 4. It's a good day for a Kura on the holy mountain of Biri, overlooking Nyingchi city.
차바 주쟁아 아니 차바 게 아니 세상 뒤잖아 아니 화장대 매 똥타라 그런 거 아니 드진이야.
Biri Mountain is believed to have been a meditation spot for the legendary Padmasambhava, founder of Tibet's most ancient school of Buddhism. A modern boardwalk supports the older pilgrims on their regular 5-kilometer Kura around the religious site.
Mingla kesansa talo lo dingi. Ngamana donso ge zhuren zhushi tlichi. Ngamana 아니 반리고 람다 아니 근데 요마래 다 내리 인상 내리라 신라 다만다 내대어스 아마 비리게 괜찮아도 시에더라 아니 신 꼬마쳐스 리톨라나 망소게나 아니 리톨라 얌노스
China has invested heavily into infrastructure, financial aid, and education for Tibet in the past 50 years. In 2017, Tibet became the fastest growing region in China.
로접제 깔라나 빠이게 정책이 큰 것은 시작하 말이야. 고델라 지배층이게 리홍저지 중요죠. 모의 공司是 총관 중요죠. 당연히 정성을 나게 난 걸리시나 되지래. 알로 침대 가자. 전전 당원한 시제 아니 빙반 자등업 주진이 알로 된지. 데스 가를 찌면 담아지고. 로드 때서 지라 되나라서다. 로드 때서 체대지고 다디 지보드 지라 당원 세상을
Here, on the world's highest plateau, human life ventures into the extraordinary. These mystical people are beginning to open up and share their secrets. For them, intense devotion is part of everyday life. Not only to religion, but to unbridled creativity and world-beating progress. This is a place that's growing and changing as rapidly as the rest of China. And in the vastness of Tibet, there's plenty of room for the future.